Chapter 4. A New Look. Melody ignored the nagging urge to write a letter to her mother. For one, she didn't have a penny to spend on a stamp. She'd spent the whole day yesterday scrubbing the kitchen until late afternoon, when Tonac had made her a pot of stew and sent her upstairs to pick out a room from among those that were vacant. Despite his claim that it wasn't a bed and breakfast, the rooms were clean with fresh-smelling linens, and she had her choice of 3. She'd picked the one furthest down the hall because it had a balcony with an uninterrupted view of the North Shore. Now, as she stood out on that balcony under the purple and pink sky just before the sun broke over the water, she ignored that familiar obligation to do the right thing by family. It was too perfect of a day to ruin it by worrying about what her mother would think. Returning inside, she put on her cleanest outfit from the book bag she had gathered from the beach the evening before. She felt nervous. Was she supposed to start work now? It felt odd to be sleeping in the same place where she would be working. Although it was a handy idea, if she needed a break, she could come back here to hide out. Is that where Chuck ran off to when he wasn't serving tables? She flopped onto the 4-poster bed with the burgundy comforter, trying not to think of her ex-husband, and how he would have complained about the frou-frou of the pillows and the woven antique chairs. She regretted ever having talked to him during her junior year of high school. She was relieved to be rid of him and had promised herself after she left that she wouldn't fall for any guy for at least a couple of years. She was determined to enjoy and get to know herself again. For all of these years, it was all about Greg. It was time for Melody Green to do what she wanted. The whole bedroom wasn't really decorated to her taste. Cluttered was probably the word for it. The bed was kind of stiff. The mauve walls were a little too cozy. The array of furniture was actually unusable. The dresser was tiny and the drawers stuck. The whole piece took up so much space that felt way too big for the room. The sofa chair was stiff, and the table in front of it was too tall for her. But she'd never complain. She had a view of the ocean all to herself. She thought at some point she could change the comforter. Maybe she could repaint the room and swap out some of the furniture. She jumped off the bed and sucked in a breath of the fresh ocean air. She needed to see what was going on downstairs. She needed to talk about a salary. She couldn't just live and eat here. She needed clothes and... what else? Savings for retirement? Yes. She needed money to ensure her future. She also needed to consider a true career. Hopping from one thing to another wasn't working out. She couldn't simply work here forever, could she? Melody had discovered a back stairwell that led to the kitchen, which was a good thing, because the thought of going down to the kitchen using the front stairwell gave her the willies, as she wasn't sure who could come in the door at any moment. As she opened the kitchen door, the wave of warmth and fragrances enveloped her and lured her in. Tonac stood with his back to her, leaning over the open face of the antique iron-cast stove, stoking the flames. There was an old kettle coffee maker on top. Melody stood quietly, feeling awkward in her Elvis Lives t-shirt and cut-off shorts. Tonac, despite the sandals, seemed even more dressed up than yesterday in a navy-fitted shirt and clean pair of dark blue jeans. Melody hovered near the silver table, unsure of what to do. After another few minutes, Tonac dug out a coffee mug and carefully poured a thick, dark liquid from the coffee pot. He found a matching saucer. Sweet rolls cooled on a rack nearby, and he plucked one up, plating it on the edge of the saucer. He turned and, with a smile, handed the dish to Melody. She realized the liquid was actually hot chocolate. "It looks delicious." Melody lifted the cup to take a sip. Tonac's hand shot out, covering the mug with his hand. "Not for you," he said. He motioned to the door that led to the dining room. "What, now? Out there?" "Go on. Susan is in a hurry." "Oh," she said. "Right, for Susan." Shouldn't he have told me so before? How did he know I'd be downstairs on time for this? She turned away from him and eyeballed the tray that Chuck had used, wondering if she should be using it too. She had no experience serving, and just the thought of dropping a load of dishes was enough to convince her not to. Out in the dining rooms, a mature woman sat at a table near the corner. She had swept up hair and bifocals perched atop a red nose, which she rubbed at with a tissue. She leaned over the table, poring over a newspaper. When Melody approached, her head snapped up. "I want to see a menu." Melody wasn't sure how to respond to this. There had to be something better than Chuck's rude method. "This is for you, Susan." The lady's eyes widened. "How did—" Her gaze followed Melody as she carefully placed the hot chocolate in front of her. "I didn't want this." Would she have to bring it back to the kitchen? "I think you'll enjoy it." "Is this chocolate? I can't drink this. What of my health?" "Give it a try." Melody walked away before she could respond. Maybe Chuck's method was best after all. Melody left the room and hid just behind the hallway wall, watching. Susan carefully sniffed and then sipped at the cup. Susan's expression changed from bewilderment to surprise. She closed her eyes. What was going on in her head? Did she see the same bakery that Melody had seen? Did she suddenly feel at home as she had yesterday? When the cup was empty, the sweet biscuit eaten, Susan stood up. "I can't believe the audacity." She fiddled in her purse and dropped something metal and heavy on the table. Melody had just enough time to slip behind the swinging kitchen door before Susan made it to the hallway to leave. After she left, Melody walked over to linger near the table. A silver pill box with ornate carvings sat near the dishes. Should she pick it up? Melody pressed her palm to her forehead and rubbed. She felt like a train wreck. Was this normal? Susan didn't appear to like what she was given, but she dropped something on the table without a blink. How did she assume she could walk out without paying for anything? She'd asked for a menu, so it seemed she hadn't been there before. Tonac wasn't in the kitchen when she returned, although there was still the smell of something sweet baking in the oven. She managed to find him out on the back porch, tending to some of the plants in the buckets, giving them water with a filtered hose. "I don't think she liked the hot chocolate," she said. "You're not wearing shoes," he replied, turning the nozzle off and bending over to check the underside of the leaves. Melody looked down at her bare feet. She was still kind of sleepy, but how could she have forgotten to put on shoes? "I'm sorry." "Why?" He plucked one of the leaves from the plant and put it in his mouth, chewed, and then spit it to the ground. "I don't understand. Shouldn't I be wearing shoes? And I should ask you about money. I mean, I'll need clothes, right?" "If you must." His smile lifted and his eyes sparked, but his expression quickly changed again into simply amused. "But I agree. You need clothes. You do know that Elvis is dead, don't you?" She blushed. "I know it's probably not appropriate, but—" "It's the best you have right now." He pulled out a billfold from his pocket and then started to count. 2,000? She blinked. "Pardon? Will 2,000 be enough?" Enough? She hadn't been there for a full 24 hours, and he's about to pass over a wad of cash bigger than she'd ever held in her entire life. I haven't even done one shift. I was just wondering about what my pay would be. You know, probably whatever you pay, Chuck. "I don't pay Chuck." He folded the bills and then held the wad up to her. "This is for new clothes and other girl things. I know girls like shoes, right?" She shrugged. "I could do without. Never did like wearing them." His smile warmed, and he mumbled something, but all Melody caught was, "After my own." He put his wallet away and then picked up her hand, placing the money in her palm. "This is my investment. You need things, and I need you. At least this way you'll feel obligated to stay long enough." She tried to focus on his eyes, but the moment was so intense, she needed to look away before he discovered something in her she didn't want him to know. Long enough for what? He enclosed her fingers over the money. Go buy a shirt and pants. You may go without shoes when you work here, but I think you'll have to wear pants. She wasn't sure if he was serious. Could one work in a restaurant without shoes? It was a beach place, though. Customers could walk in without shoes, right? I'll give you the change. I'll just get what I need for now. If there's a look or uniform you'd like me to wear, I will just get that. I promise. He waved in a dismissive gesture. Keep it all. Buy what you are comfortable to work in. And some beach wear. What's the point of being at the beach if you can't get out to enjoy it? He turned the hose back on, showering plants with another spritz. This was nothing like she was expecting. Wasn't she supposed to negotiate a salary? Talk about benefits? Here she was with a wad of cash and permission to spend it all on herself. There's a scone and a cup of chocolate on the table in the kitchen for you, he said. You should eat before you go. Melody wanted to say thank you. The words danced behind her lips. She was grateful to him. This was nothing like bosses she had in the past, who often asked her to do things way outside the scope of her normal job, like operating 4 machines at once at the car parts factory, because she was young and fast. It was dangerous because moving so fast, she could have easily clipped her fingers. She often did double the work for a lower pay because she had to, and that's what folks offered her, and she didn't know how to ask for more. So far at Mayana, she'd swept and tidied up a kitchen and delivered 1 cup of chocolate to a customer, and she had been given a wad of cash she hadn't earned. Hurry, he said. You need to be back for lunch. He turned the hose on her, spraying at her feet. The coolness made her leap, and she laughed as she ran for the door, the spray following her the entire way. The chocolate was divine and the scone excellent, but there weren't effects similar to the day before. That thought made her reflect. Did it only happen once? Or maybe that wasn't the intention of the food he had given her today? And what was his intention with the food? It was too much for her brain that morning, with $2,000 weighing down her pocket. She doubted she'd spent that much on herself since leaving high school. She was pretty sure the Elvis t-shirt had been Greg's. It was that thought that made her rush to put on her tennis shoes and jog all the way to Main Street. Main Street on Juniper Island was buzzing with pre-season preparations. Signs were being repolished and new shelving put in. New tables were rolled in on dollies. Melody's presence turned a few heads. To the others, she probably looked like an early bird tourist. She asked the old lady in one of the souvenir shops about the best place to buy clothes on the island. South, she said, and west. The old woman pulled out a map from behind the fuchsia counter. This is the island. Melody got the top-down view of a hand-drawn sketch. She could see North Shore and the lighthouse, the big hotel on the beach, the 7 restaurants, the church, a library, condos, beach home rental office, and on the south end of the island were several tiny roads lined with high-end boutiques. South end of Juniper was somehow infected with California-itis, she laughed. Not that I'm sad. I like the idea of not having to go to the mainland for a Gucci bag. I never have to leave the island as it is. Melody gazed at the map, trying to absorb the directions. Could I buy one of these maps from you? The old woman folded it and handed it to her. Take it. I've got more. Melody thanked her and rented a bicycle from the woman. North Shore was close to Main Street, but the south end of the island was 5 miles away. The ride in the late April breeze gave her the same energy rush she had experienced the day before. She biked along a tourist road, dotted with salons, art galleries, a bakery and a couple restaurants. As Melody passed, she thought about Mayana. Were the other restaurants competition for Tonac? How did he manage to stay in business if he didn't charge? She found the boutiques surrounding a fountain park, enclosed in their own section. aptly named Fashion Circle. The shops all had foreign names and designer brand clothes on mannequins in the windows. Melody had been hoping for a simple department store outlet. She didn't see anywhere else to buy clothes, though. A ritzy designer shop couldn't have been what he was thinking when he passed her $2,000 in cash. She would need that much just to buy underwear in places like the boutiques. The store clerks gave her more than her fair share of looks when she entered a shop called Tissou. She did her best to ignore them as she checked the dummy displays with the latest trends. She had never been up to speed in fashion, but she managed to find jeans in her size and some loose-fitting blouses. She found colors that matched her skin tone and her blonde hair. She juggled her choices as she looked at prices. She finally settled on 4 blouses, 3 pairs of jeans, and 2 pairs of shorts when a store clerk offered to help her with her purchase. Melody handed her choices over. The clerk put her clothes onto one of the bare counters and went through them, looking them over and glancing at Melody. Kind of odd. Was she assuming Melody couldn't afford them? "I have money," Melody said. The clerk met her eyes and stared at her. She had fair skin, freckles, and dark, mousy hair tied behind her head in an elegant twist. She wore designer glasses that appeared to be more fashion than necessity, and while Melody couldn't tell brands apart, her clothes looked similar to what one of the mannequins displayed on the wall. She leaned over the counter. "Are you sure you want these?" the clerk asked in a low whisper. Melody felt the heat radiating from her cheeks. "Is there something wrong?" "You're here to buy work clothes, right? You work in one of the restaurants?" "How did you know?" The clerk shifted her black-rimmed glasses with a delicate pinky. "Everyone knows everyone on the island, at least the locals." She pulled out 2 pairs of the jeans Melody had picked out. "These are okay for your off days, but which restaurant do you work in?" Melody tried to pronounce Mayana. "The one on the North Shore?" The clerk blinked at her. "Oh." She seemed caught off guard. "I thought it was just that short guy." "I think he hired me just for the tourist season." The clerk shifted on her feet and then held out her hand. "I'm Gretchen. Friends call me Greta." Melody shook her hand. "Melody?" "Let's find something more suitable. What's your size?" Melody spent another hour letting Greta dress her up in several outfits, feeling incredibly nervous about the price ranges of the items. She learned that most of the other waiters and staff that worked on the island rented cottages tucked away on the riverside of the island. Greta rented an apartment in the 2nd story of one of the souvenir shops on Main Street and had lived on the island for 5 years. "I never want to leave," she said. "What do you think of this color?" She held up the 13th blouse she had gathered for Melody to try on. "It's pretty," Greta sighed. "That's what you said about all of them. Don't you have an opinion?" "I've only ever worn jeans and t-shirts, really." "Oh boy," Greta said. "What did your boss say? Does he have an opinion?" "He said I could work barefoot and to pick what I would be comfortable in, and to get a bathing suit." Greta brushed a palm over her forehead. "I hadn't even thought of trying to match shoes yet." Her eyes gazed over the inventory of the store. "How do you feel about a skirt?" Finally, Greta and Melody settled on 2 solid-colored, handkerchief hem A-line skirts that Melody didn't feel too awkward in and looked fine with bare feet. She also had a pair of cropped cargo pants, the 2 pairs of jeans, and several light blouses she could mix and match. They found a fairly modest 2-piece bathing suit that Melody refused to try on after trying on nearly everything else, but Greta swore the suit was the one for her. "This will get you started," Greta said. She also picked out a pair of flip-flops and casual flats. "You can't be barefoot all the time." Melody said, her eyes focused on a pink, one-shoulder draped dress. Melody's eyes kept drifting to it for the past 30 minutes while Greta fussed over her. She liked the color, and she thought the material looked silky, but softer than silk. Greta followed her gaze. Do you want it? Melody sucked in a breath. No. I couldn't afford it. It's a nice piece. Kinda reminds me of those Roman goddess dresses. We can put you on store credit. Melody laughed. Honey, my ex-husband obliterated my credit, I'm sure. No, it's okay. I don't need it. I don't have a reason to wear it. Her eyes betrayed her feelings as she lingered over the thought of herself in it. You could try it on. Melody shook her head. I think I've done enough damage today. Greta shrugged and then started to enter her purchases into the computer. After Melody paid, she only had a couple $100 left. I can't believe how much I've spent. Greta laughed, bubbly and nasal. You'll make more money working at... Then she faltered. Oh, but I forgot. He doesn't charge, I don't know. Maybe in tips? Melody shook her head. She had no idea if she'd even get a paycheck after this, much less how tips would work in a restaurant that didn't charge for food. Greta bagged her purchases for her. Hey, when you get a night off, come on over to my apartment. I work morning shifts too. I'll show you where the movie theater is. Oh, and there's a great ice cream shop behind the post office. Melody promised to stop by. Was this a friend? Melody had made a few work buddies before, but she'd never went anywhere with them, nor had she been invited to join them at their homes. As soon as work was over, she went home to her now ex-husband. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. Greg would have fought with her over going out with a friend, saying it was a waste of time when the house needed cleaning and dinner needed to be made. As she rode her bike back to North Shore, she considered the new clothes in her bags and fought off the nervousness of feeling indebted to Tonac. She did need clothes, but would have been happy in clearance rack purchases from a department store. Did she make the right choice to let Greta help her and spend most of the money on such expensive clothes? When she got back to Mayana, she laid out the clothes on her bed and took inventory. There wasn't a thing in there she wanted to take back, even if she felt the prices were high. They seemed perfect to her. Greta hadn't tried to fit her into styles that would never suit her. She knew clothes and comfort, and she was just as careful to make sure Melody fell in love with each piece and tried not to influence her decision. This is the only time she would do this for herself, Melody swore. She had splurged on clothes with money she hadn't earned yet. She would work hard to earn her keep, and she'd never ask for another advance. It's what she considered the money now. A month's worth of work at least. It seemed fair. It was about how much she earned a month working in the car parts place. She tried not to think about the room she was staying in and the food she'd been eating from Tonac's kitchen. She also tried not to think of if she might get fired for dropping a dish or ticking off the wrong customer. And that night after her shift, and as she slept, she tried not to think about her future. It was something her mother was always nagging at her about,